Welcome back to Spank Ranch Garage. We don't like one-wheeler peelers here. They're absolutely terrible. But just kidding, this car actually has a welded diff and a broken axle. That's a whole nother video, but we are getting rid of the open diff and we are putting in a WaveTrac LSD, which is a helical LSD with a couple other elements that supposedly makes it better than some other helical LSDs, at least. I picked it for a couple reasons and we'll go through them, but for now, let's get this diff out and get it taken apart. Unboxing the WaveTrac, see what it looks like in here. Ultimately, I decided on the WaveTrac, and hopefully I made the right choice. This is the part number 30.309.170WK. It's for the BMW 215K diff. This fits E39 540Is, and it also fits E90s and the 1 series, like the 135s, the 335s, without a welded pinion gear. That's a whole nother thing. E90 guys are into that crap. WaveTrac is incredibly durable, withstand harsh environments, as long as suitable oil is used. Well, we are going to create harsh environments, that's for sure. So anyway, pull the carrier out. Box has custom fit foam in it. Pretty nice unit there. They know what they're doing. Off the bat, this thing feels really nice. It's got all ARP fasteners in it right out of the box. I believe this is 100% made in USA, which is one of the reasons I leaned this way over the Chinese, Taiwanese, M-Factory stuff. Anyway, this looks very nicely built. Not much to see here. All the magic happens on the inside. The gasket for this is discontinued, but there is a part number for a BMW sealant that's used in its replacement. Okay, not too bad. Okay, since I'm reusing the bearings and the ring and pinion on this differential, I'm going to measure a couple key parameters before we take it apart. That way I know what I should be looking for when I put it back together. First thing, we're going to measure the backlash in the ring gear. So we're going to do that by locking the pinion, putting a dial indicator on the housing, seeing how much backlash we have. Secondly, we're going to get a pattern off the gear teeth. We'll put some paste on here and we'll see how it meshes with the pinion on both sides. That'll give me kind of a goal to shoot for. I'll probably even take a couple pictures of it. That way when I put this thing back together, I can say, yeah, that's pretty close, right? I'm not looking for perfection here, but I want to make sure I'm in the ballpark of the way BMW set it up. Finally, we'll test the preload of the whole differential with the torque on the pinion bearing. So basically I'll use a very light torque wrench. We'll turn the differential over. We'll see how much torque it takes. Because I'm not messing with the pinion bearing or the preload on that, that's going to stay constant. We should be able to have a decent idea of our carrier preload based on that value. So I'm just going to jot down a couple things here before we take it apart so I have a baseline. About 1 3/4, 5 1/2, about 3.5 thousandths backlash. Seems a little tight. I'll check what the spec is, but either way, this thing ran a couple, 200,000 miles that way, so can't be too bad for it. All right, put some marking paste on a couple of teeth. Now I'm going to roll that around to the pinion. And we should get a good imprint of what our teeth mesh is looking like right now. It's nice to put a load on it so it'll squeeze the paste out a little more. Otherwise, you don't really get an accurate print there. So I just kind of retard the carrier with my hand. All right, now we've got our contact patch between our pinion and our ring gear. Looks okay to me, but I'm not an expert with putting rears together. Now I'm going to spin it the other way to load the backside of the gear. But I'm going to take a couple pictures of this with my phone, and that's something I'm going to shoot for upon reassembly. All All right, the other side of the gear looks really nice too. Centered up in pretty much every dimension there, so I'm happy with that. All right, let's check the preload. For this part, I adapt a 32mm socket to a little 1/4 inch, beam action torque wrencher. And I'm just going to see what kind of drag this diff has in it as an assembly. And that's just for like my own curiosity when I put this thing back together. She's got some initial stiction, that's for sure. But right now, my total preload is about 5 or 6 inch-pounds. Let's go ahead and pull these seals out. I did buy new ones, so I can ruin these. I would hope if you're going through all this, you're gonna put seals in her anyway. These things are a bit of a bastard to get out of here, honestly. Damn, girl! Not enough to hit the bearing, just enough to get in there and get a grip on this turd. Alright. There's a will, there's a way. Not the way I want to do it, but tear that thing apart. So inside here is a big snap ring. It's about 3.5 inches in diameter. And at the bottom, it has numbers on it. These snap rings come from different thicknesses from BMW, and that's how you actually set your carrier preload and spacing. So it is super important to not mix these snap rings up. There are different thicknesses. Just to free them in their seat. I'll try to get this to come. Oh boy. Oh, we're going to be dealing with some fun here. Oh my God, that's freaking tight. Oh, bitch. Son of a biscuit. You don't want the tips to come out. This 5mm thick snap ring is no joke. Oh, come on, baby. Trying to get up. Oh, Jesus. You ever done like a Ford Explorer rear wheel bearing? You think those are bad? Freaking kids play compared to this. These are very thick because they are shims. Mother. I ended up reconfiguring the tips on my tool here. You really got to have safety glasses on for this, but there it is. And look at the thickness on this thing. That thing is no joke. So I need to very carefully disengage this now. Holy shit! Okay, these are no joke. Well, once that disaster's out, come in here, clean this up, everything's nice and shiny. These are really nice bearings. This thing glides out like really nice, so kind of just reach in from the back and start to pop the bearing out, and then it's just a standard tapered bearing like you've seen on many other diffs. To the other side, this one is 3.88mm thick, so it's a little thinner than the one we just did. So that is good. Also, she moves a little easier in her slot, so let's hope we can get this one out without losing my head. Oh, wow. Oh, she's twisting the tips. Oh, shit. Oh, here we go again. All right. Whew. That is terrifying. And the reason I feel confident in these differentials, look at the size of that pinion. I mean, I got a bush latte in there for scale. This pinion is very large. I mean, the ones in the E36s, they're like, you know, that big. Look at that puppy. So I never see myself tearing that up, but we'll see. You can now set the housing aside. Won't be doing anything with this for a little while. There she goes. Okay. Now I need to figure out how to get these bearings off without damaging them even in the slightest. This one, I can see the back of the race. This one I can also see the back of the race. So I can get on them with a big enough bearing splitter. Unfortunately, mine is not big enough. The old Harbor Freight strikes again. Yep, can't get a nut on there. So my thoughts are, you got a pretty good bearing lip exposed there, plenty to hit on. Thinking I'm gonna warm this up with the torch a little bit, come in with the air chisel, wrap on the back of this race a little bit, hopefully she'll come right off. This one's gonna be more challenging. I have a good amount of race exposed still. Because I'm not using this carrier again, I'm okay taking an air chisel and digging in there. If I beat up the carrier, it doesn't matter as long as I get the bearings off. So hopefully these aren't on there too bad with some heat, but we're gonna find out. No damage, she came right off. Hopefully I get that lucky with the next one. All right. And I'm very thrilled with that. No damage to the bearing whatsoever. I'm using a really blunt tip, soft air chisel. I mean, yeah, I dinged up the, oh, there's a piece of it there. I dinged up the race on the carrier a little bit, but this carrier's scrap. But if I had to reuse that, I could buff those out right back to business. So that was one of my biggest worries doing this job, is I don't have the tools to get these bearings off without hurting them, but looks like the old air chisel and Bush Light did it again. Woo! All right, about 350 degrees. Let's see if she'll drop on there. Right on there. Let's get a bolt in. Make sure she's clocked right before she shrinks back up. Oh, baby. That is what I am talking about. I get a little nervous on these kind of things because you get one shot, you get that thing stuck halfway. Like I'll have a bearing race bounce and get stuck, and that'll ruin your night. But anyway, 350 degrees, she slides right on there, so I'm very happy with that. We'll let it cool, and we'll get into torquing the bolts. The reason I'm putting the gear on before the bearings is WaveTrac gave us these super nice flat spots here. So I can flip this over now, hold this in the vise safely without nicking anything, doing any damage, and then we can go ahead and torque our ring gear bolts. And cleaned up all the ring gear bolts really nice. WaveTrac says torque them to 85 foot-pounds. They don't say anything about any thread locking compound. Seems, I don't know, I kind of want to put thread lock on, but there wasn't any on the factory bolts. And I don't know, trust the science, right? That's what everyone says these days. I'm gonna see if I can get this to drop on without any pressing. Oh yeah, baby. Right on there. Beautiful. Second one incoming. Bingo. Okay, so the ring gear's on and torqued. Both bearings are set. It's just sitting here in the vise, waiting to go in. So I'm gonna get the pumpkin ready and we can drop her back in and start putting it back together. The one thing I might not have mentioned is all of your mating surfaces need to be spotless. So where the ring gear sets, if you get any dirt behind this, you're technically gonna have some run out in the gear. Same thing with the bearings, you know, brake clean, wipe this thing absolutely clean. Same with the inside of the bearing before you even heat it. That way it drops on, no snags, no problems. That's the technique. Just gotta go let this come out that way. I need to get her in there, get the gear to line up. Cool. And clean up this big boy bearing race here. All right, once you're past the groove, then she walks in and out pretty nice here, so. All right, 4.26, that's the big boy that goes on this one. We're gonna give this a good cleaning as well. Okay. Now. We're just about in the groove. Okay, so that one went in pretty easy because you know, the carrier's loose in here, so I don't have the bearing pressed against the snap ring. So we'll save the tough stuff for the other side. Okay, so we are up against the snap ring on the other side now. Look at that. It's a nice fit when it all comes together. Look at that. She snapped into her bore on her own. So it certainly is preloading these bearings. There's absolutely no play in here. And the diff still turns on its own. So let's get on to doing some testing. Holy crap. It's about 4. We had 3.5, I believe, on our initial measurements. Nice. Look at that pattern on the backside there. Very nice. This is one of the new seals. And here's the new seal. These are pretty special seals. Double lip for the stub shaft, and then it's also got this dust cap on it. Ho ho! Don't get much better than that. Another thing to lose your eye on this job. No. New diff, new clips, whatever. Put a little oil on this. Wet the seal surface and the splines. Twist it a little till you feel the splines lock. See ya. For fluid, I'm going with a pretty conventional Valvoline. The one thing to look out for is make sure it doesn't have limited slip additive in it. I would have wanted to go with a higher quality synthetic fluid. However, the Nothing at my local parts store did not have the limited slip additive, and you do not want that. It actually specifically voids the warranty of this WaveTrac diff. So they do recommend Motul Gear 300 if that is what you want to go with. It's a little pricey for me. Honestly, I would have paid it if I could get it locally. I could not, so we're going to go with the old Valvoline and get her done. I'm going to start with 2 quarts, and then I'll check the fluid once I throw the rear cover on. Oh yeah. Sealer from BMW, they said it's the replacement for the gaskets. Turns out it's actually just Loctite 5970. Get this at any of your local industrial suppliers. Don't pay BMW prices. Nice layer of sealant on there. All the surfaces are cleaned up. The Loctite product cure, and then I usually come back and give them all like a quarter turn after that, just to get a little more compression out of it. Never had any leaks that way. May not be the right thing to do, whatever, but it will remain on its nose cone throughout the night, so the adhesive will not be exposed to any oil as it's curing. Diff has been sitting for a day or so. I just run around and give all the bolts another little smack now that the adhesive's cured up. Drain plug's tight, fill plug. And this thing's ready to go in the car. Let's go take it for a drive, do a couple burnouts, and see how she performs. I think I filmed this video like 3 months ago. I don't even remember at this point, but I've put over 5,000 miles on this WaveTrac diff by now. I've done road trips. I've been daily driving this thing to work, beating it up on the weekends, beating it up on the weeknights, doing stupid stuff. I gotta say I'm very, very impressed with the WaveTrac diff. Typically I'm easily disappointed, I'll start with that, but this has been great. You know, driving with the welded diff for so many years just gets so tiring with all the clunking noises and crap going on, having to turn off traction control every time you get in the car. This diff has done everything I wanted and more. It's absolutely quiet. I don't notice any additional noise. Obviously, you don't have all the disturbances in parking lots, things like that. Every time I rip a burnout, it spins 2 wheels. Every time I power hard out of a corner, I feel like the outside tire is getting enough forward bite for me. I've done a small bit of drifting with it, but I will admit I haven't really drifted this too much yet. I did drift it once, and it was a little bit different than I'm used to. I've been drifting welded diffs for 12 years now, so this is the first time I'm drifting any type of limited slip, but a helical really is kind of weird for that. So I will take this to a track eventually and put it through its paces, see how it performs. But for a daily that you want to always spin 2 tires and go occasionally drifting, right now I don't think you can beat this WaveTrac diff. So E90 guys, E82 or whatever the 1 series are, and E39 540, get yourself a WaveTrac. I'm not sponsored by them or anything, but I am really happy with this product so far. So 5,000 miles down, 3 months or so of driving. I'll check back in. It's getting cold out. We'll have some snow soon. I'll do some tests to see if I can do a burnout with 1 tire on dry land, the other one on ice or whatever. And we'll see how she does. So thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.